I figured out how to prompt LTX-2!
We're listening!
LTX-2 is a brand new AI model that can generate video with or without audio, and since it was released, I've been working furiously to figure out the best settings to get great results. We'll go over text to video, image to video, and lip sync videos. We will be using WAN2GP on an RTX 5090 on RunPod. You can use whatever you prefer to run WAN2GP. If you need help getting started on RunPod, I will link to a separate video that will get you going really quickly. Here we are in WAN2GP on our RTX 5090. If you are using the 5090, then please go into the configuration tab and set SGPA as your attention type and click Save Settings. You just need to do this if you're running my template with an RTX 5090. Then select RTX-2 from the dropdown, and then we are going to be using the distilled version of the model. We're going to make sure we're on text prompt only for the text to video, and then we're going to do generate video and soundtrack based on text prompt. Like most text to video models, prompting LTX-2 is a bit of an adventure. Helpfully, the team behind LTX-2 provided this prompting guide, which has a few useful tips. You're going to want to keep your prompt in a single paragraph, use present tense verbs, match your detail to the shot scale, so if you want a close-up of a person's face, you should describe what they look like. When describing camera movement, focus on the camera's relationship to the subject, write about 4 to 8 sentences, and then here's their caveat that it's not going to work perfectly all the time. They say don't be afraid to iterate. What is nice is the model runs quickly, so you can go through many iterations quickly. And then they say what to avoid. Apparently, you don't want to be in a relationship with LTX-2 because it is not good at determining emotional state. So you don't want to say that the person is sad. You want to describe explicitly what sadness looks like. Other things to avoid are text and logos, complex physics, or chaotic motion, though it does say it handles dance movements. You want to avoid too much complexity. Basically, it works really well if you have 1 or 2 characters in a scene with not too much going on. Maybe they're speaking, maybe they're just moving in normal non-Olympian ways, or if it's an action scene, maybe you do it in slow motion. In addition to the prompting guide, the creators also have this GitHub repo for Comfy UI, and in it they have a system prompt for how a prompt enhancer node in Comfy UI or anywhere could help you write the prompts. And this is helpful to see other little tips like specifying the style at the beginning, so it's worth a read if you are not getting the outputs that you want. And if you rather not read these things and synthesize them, I've created this video prompting skill that takes the prompting guide and those system prompts and creates a agent skill so that your agent of choice can write the prompts for you. So with this, you can basically feed the skill to your agent large language model and tell it to write an LTX-2 prompt, and it will use the knowledge we have about good prompting and take your simple prompt and make it into a better prompt. For instance, I wrote this prompt, create a prompt for a demon lit by firelight saying, "You thought I would follow your silly little prompt?" And then he laughs demonically. We hear the fire crackling in the background. And using the skill and LLM created this, I will let you read it. It really expands upon the simple prompt I provided. So we'll paste that in our WAN2GP, and we're going to select 1080p and 16:9. It is so amazing that we can create 1080p video this quickly. I'm going to reduce the number of frames so that we're generating 6 seconds. I feel like the prompt fills up about 6 seconds of video. That is really an unscientific feel thing. Next, we are going to go get a LoRa. I found with this model, applying at least one LoRa really helps with the quality of the output. Helpfully, the LTX team provided a bunch of LoRas, so we're going to go to the LTX-2 repo and scroll down, and there you will see a list of LoRas. I found that for text-to-video generations, the detailer LoRa worked really well, so you can click on that link and get more details on Hugging Face about the LoRa, and then copy the download link. And then back in WAN2GP, it's really easy to use the LoRa, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and paste that download link, and click Download LoRa, and that will go get the LoRa for you and put it in the correct directory. And then we want to click on Advanced Mode, and I'm going to quickly set a seed so that I remember and can regenerate if I want. And then under that LoRAs tab, we will now see in the dropdown our detailer LoRa. We're going to select that and put 1.0 as the multiplier, which is the default, so you don't technically have to put it. You could also, if you want, set different multipliers for the two phases of the model. You would just separate the two multipliers with a semicolon. So say if you wanted half strength on the first phase, you put 0.5 semicolon and 1 if you wanted full strength on the second phase. If you are using multiple LoRas, then you just separate your multipliers by a space. Other than that, for the distilled model, there are not many other configuration options exposed in WAN2GP. You can't set the number of steps, so let's just hit generate. The first time you generate on a new machine, it has to download the model weight, so that will take a little longer. And it completes in 6.5 minutes, even with the model weight download.
You thought I would follow your silly little prompt.
Not bad. It's missing the fire crackle sound, but otherwise it followed the prompt quite nicely. And then to show how fast this model runs when the weights are already downloaded, I ran the exact same thing, and it took only 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Now to push the limits of text to video, let's do what it says not to do. Let's create a complex scene with many people and lots of motion. In particular, we have a 5-person K-pop group performing on stage, and here is the result. I warn, it is not the best music. Even though the music is a bit grating and there is distortion in the visuals, it's pretty impressive that it created that in 5 minutes. Let's try using the full model version instead of distilled, because some people think that it creates better audio. So we're going to select default at the top instead of distilled. That is going to reset what you have put into your WAN2GP. Then we're going to select generate video and soundtrack based on text prompt, and then paste in that prompt of the K-pop group. We want 1080p, 16:9. We're leaving 10 full seconds at 241 frames. In the full model, we get to select the number of inference steps. We're going to leave it at the default 40, but you can change that based on what you're seeing in your outputs. We're going to select our seed. Here you can see we can select a guidance. We're going to leave the default 4, but if it's not adhering to your prompt, you could try increasing that number. We're not giving an audio, so you don't need to set an audio strength. We want to use the detailer LoRa again, so select that. Put 1.0 as your multiplier. And that should be everything, and we can hit generate. This is the first time I'm running the full version on this machine, so it is going to have to download the weights, so it will take a little longer. All in, it took 26.5 minutes, which is a lot longer than the distilled version, and here's our result. I think the full here was actually worse than the distilled version, at least visually. And this was a trend I thought. I generally liked the output from the distilled better, and it's so much faster that I mostly use the distilled. So let's move on to image to video and lip sync, where we have more control. I wanted to recreate a panda version of the iconic scene from Mean Girls, where they're walking down the hall and Katie the redhead falls into the trash can. So what I did is I created a whole bunch of images that were panda versions of the Mean Girls, and then I used a combination of image to video and lip sync to create the full video to edit together. So I'll walk you through how I did the image to video and then the lip sync. Back in WAN2GP with the distilled version selected, we're going to click Start Video with Image, and then I'm going to drag in the 4 pandas for the intro scene, and then you want to set the image strength. I found that 0.9 worked quite well. A lot of people had problems where the output video would just be a static version of the image, so lowering the strength from 1 really helps. Still, you get movement in your output video. We are not using control video, and then we are going to generate the video and soundtrack based on text prompt because we're not giving it an audio. And luckily for image to video, you do not have to use such a specific prompt. because the image does a lot of the work. Here we are just doing the panda's walk down the hall. The tail of the red panda swishes back and forth as she walks. I actually iterated on this. I had to add the part about the tail of the red panda because the model was confused and thought it was a cat and would turn the tail into a cat. So by giving it the information that it was a tail, it fixed it. Also, I don't care what audio it produces. I have my own audio to set to the video, so I'm not going to prompt anything about audio. I noticed that sometimes it would just not produce audio when I did that, and sometimes it would produce what it thought fit the video. We want 1080p and 16:9. I want 10 seconds of footage, even though I'm not going to use 10 seconds of footage. So let's see what it generates if I ask it for the full 10 seconds. And then I did not like the way the detailer LoRa generally worked with image to video. So we're going to go back to that LTX GitHub repo and pick a different camera LoRa. You can see there's a selection there. I want it to jib up. So I will go and get the download link for the jib up LoRa, copy that, and then go back into WAN2GP and download that just the way we downloaded the other one. Once it's downloaded, we now see it in our list and we can select it and then keep the 1 multiplier. And then otherwise, we are good to generate. It completed in 3.5 minutes, and I will play it for you with the sound that I'm not going to use. And there's our intro. The end there is not very usable since it went too high up, but we don't need it anyway. I created the rest of the cuts where no one is speaking in the same manner. I started with an image. I gave it a short prompt. I set the image strength to 0.9. I used a camera LoRa that worked for the cut and generated. For the cuts where a character is speaking, I used a similar method. We use a start image. So we use start video with image, drag in our character there, use 0.9 for the image strength, no control video, but we do switch to generate video based on soundtrack and text prompt. Then we drag in our audio. WAN2GP has the ability to separate a speaker from background music. I don't like to use that feature. I like to separate the audio beforehand so I can hear it and make sure that I like the separation and that the voice is very clear. The prompt we are going to use is the panda speaks, her lips and mouth move to the words, including that the character's lips and mouth move to the words seem to really help making sure that the lip sync happens as you want it to happen. So we're doing 1080p, 16:9. The audio here is 5 seconds, so we want our output video to be 5 seconds. So we're going to reduce the number of frames. And then I found audio strength 1 worked just fine. You do want to go back to the LTX repo and get the static LoRa. The static LoRa worked the best for lip sync. So for text to video, you want the detailer LoRa. For image to video, you want a camera LoRa that works well for your scene. And then for lip sync, you want the static LoRa. Once that downloads, it will be in our dropdown and we can go get rid of whatever LoRa was there before and add the static LoRa. A 1 multiplier worked fine for me. And otherwise, we are ready to generate. And our video is ready in under 2 minutes, and this is the result.
I saw Katie Heron wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops.
It works for people just the same way. I did a middle-aged Mean Girls version as well, and the only thing I had to change to generate this video was to change the word panda to woman and change out the reference image, and it worked exactly the same. So after a bit of editing the clips together and adding the sound back, we have our middle-aged Mean Girls and our panda Mean Girls.
Because being with the Plastics was like being famous. People looked at you all the time and everybody just knew stuff about you. That new girl moved here from Africa.
I saw Katie Heron wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops.
That Katie girl is hot. She might even be hotter than Regina George.
I hear Regina George is dating Aaron Samuels again. The two were seen canoodling at Chris Iso's Halloween party, and they've been inseparable ever since.
I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.